And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Sheepy Time. Now, you may have come into this review expecting that Sheepy Time is a kid's game, because the box cover and the name sound like a kid's game and look like a kid's game. It's Sheepy Time! It's not a kid's game, it's a full-fledged strategy game. In this game, you are the sheep that people count while you go to sleep. And you are trying to run around and jump a fence as many times as you can, trying to get winks, points in this game. This game has some unusual facets to it. It is a press your luck style game, but it's also a game in which your total points you are trying to get to is constantly coming down, and your points reset every round. How does that work? I'll show you. Players are trying to catch winks. That's how you score in this game. And each player is going to do that every round of the game. You will win if you catch winks equal to where your pillow is at. Everyone's pillow is going to start on 40, but that's very difficult to do. But during each round, a round is over when all the sheep are forced to wake up by the nightmare, or you decide to call it a night and wake up yourself. So let's say it's like this here, and this is how many winks everyone has gotten at the end of round 1. Purple was woken up by the nightmare, so purple goes back to 0. At the end of the round, we're going to move pillows equal to how many winks you got. So blue got the most winks, so blue's pillow will move back 10 to 30. Yellow's pillow will move back 8 to 32. Pink's got third place, so they'll move back 6 to 34. And purple woke up, so they don't get fourth place. Instead, they just move back 3. We'll then reset all these counters for the next round, and now you can see blue only needs to get to 30. And of course, if blue has the most points, they'll drop down to 20. So eventually, you'll drop your pillow so low that you can reach it and win the game. In each round of the game, players are going to have a handful of 2 cards, and you'll play a card and draw a card. When you play a card, you sometimes have a choice. So this one says here, for example, move 5 spaces or gain 2 winks, 2 points. Move 1 space and catch 1 Z. Move 2 spaces or catch 2 Zs. Or move 7 spaces. That's all you can do with this. It's always exactly moving it. Moving, simply you just go around here. Sometimes things make you move backwards. If you get to the fence, you jump over the fence. You can never go backwards over the fence. When it says catch Zs, you will place Z tokens on any of the tiles that are around the board. The reason that you do this is when you land on one of these tiles, you can remove a Z to do it. So for example, if I was here and I did a move 2, I land here 2, remove this Z token, that gives me a point, a wink, and then I play the top card of the deck. Ooh, move 4 spaces or catch a Z. I'll move 4 spaces, now I'm here. When drawing cards from the deck, if you draw a nightmare card, it tells you what they do. This says the nightmare jumps 2 spaces forward. The nightmare jumps 1 space back. The nightmare moves 2 spaces. So the nightmare will always show up and start moving spaces on the board. If you land on the nightmare, or the nightmare lands on you, or the nightmare moves through you. So if the nightmare jumps, he'll skip you, but if he moves through you, you become scared. Or if he lands on you, you become scared. Or if you land on him, you become scared. That doesn't do anything. But if you're scared and the nightmare lands on you, or you land on the nightmare, then you wake up. And when you wake up, you're going to get no winks that night, and your pillow is going to move less than everybody else's. Now what you're trying to do is move around the board as quickly as possible, because when you jump the fence, when you make a move that jumps the fence, you get 5 winks, and then you decide you can keep going, or you can call it a night. When you call it a night, you retire, and whatever number of winks you've gotten, that's where you stop. You'll pull your sheep token off, and the other players will keep playing until they are either scared and caught by the nightmare, or till everybody calls it a night. At the end of a round, after everyone has moved their pillows, you're going to add more tiles to the outside of the board. Each player has a choice, and you'll start with whoever's the first sheep token. You can either add a new tile to the board, or you can add 2 Zs onto existing tiles. When you add a new tile to the board, you're going to look at the corner. If it shows 3 Zs, you get to put 3 of your tokens on it. which means you're going to be able to take those off and use that action often. If it shows an infinity Z, you put one of those symbols on it, and you never ever have to take a token off again. When you land there, you get exactly what it is. And these are some examples. This says if you're scared, go forward 7 spaces. Move to the next space with a dream tile. It has 3 or more Z's from any one player. Move as many spaces as you moved immediately before landing here. I like the trampoline. If you cross the fence this turn before landing here, you get points equal to the space this is on. And there are a whole lot of these tiles that do quite a few things over the course of the game. Anyway, you're just going to keep doing round after round. As time goes by, there will be more and more tiles here. Eventually this may fill up depending on what people do. But somebody's pillow or token is going to eventually get to their pillow, and you will win the game if multiple people do it the same turn. Whoever moves farther past their pillow on the scoring track is the winner. Artwork is always subjective, so I know some people will like the art for this game. I just don't like it, but that's just a personal thing. These look more like rabbits than sheep to me, but it has this cutesy feel to it. Now, the components for the game, for the most part, are fine. I like the wooden pieces. The colors are fine. This fence fits in the board. That's neat. Where I have a big problem with the game, component-wise, are these action tiles. These action tiles are facing around the board. Many of them are going to be upside down to you, depending on where you sit. But because they chose to use a font that was A, all capital letters, and B, in a whispery font, these are really difficult to read, and they're important to read. You can memorize them to some degree, but every time I played this game, everyone has always been asking, what does that tile do? What does that tile do? Because you just can't read them. It is, I found to be a fairly big usability issue with the game. I mean, even on these monster cards, what does that say? It just isn't very clear. Well, there you have it. That's Sheepy time. Now, I said that the components there were a small issue, and I think that's going to actually hurt this game to some degree. I think the artwork and the title, it looks like one game, so some people are going to pass it up for that reason. I think that's going to happen. The people who don't and play the game, it is an entertaining, interesting game. It is a game that I like, but I do understand that the usability about reading the whispery text and also the artwork, which is going to be fairly subjective, will chase some people away. I've talked about games with this artwork before. In fact, some of them from AEG, but the game is so light and silly and fluffy that people don't really care, and I get that. I think this game is a little more complex than that. It's a game that's fairly light when it comes down to it. You're just playing one of 2 cards, moving around a track. But there's a few more rules overhead. Placing the Z's so that you can then pull them off later is something that's like an extra step for a lot of people to understand, because it's delayed gratification. I'm putting a token down now so that later I may pull it off if I ever land on that spot. That is also added to the fact that the game has a pretty healthy dollop of luck in it. You don't know when the nightmare is going to pop and where they're going to go. You don't know what cards you're going to get. You draw big move cards. That's always a good thing. The move 7, almost always a good thing unless it lands on the nightmare. But I don't mind any of that. I still have a good time playing the game. My thing about the game is it gets more interesting as time goes by. I love the concept of moving your score result. That's a fascinating idea. And even if you're like, oh, I did really well the first game, great. Then your scoring token comes down quite a bit as the game goes by. And the number comes down, I showed you, for a 4-player game, will change for a 2 or a 3-player game. But I like that concept. I like, as the game goes by, it gets more interesting because you jump on the different tiles and you'll be able to maybe do some cool combos. Like, go here, pull off a Z token, then go there. But that is slightly punctuated by moments of, I'll move 2 spaces, I'm done. So there's a little bit of a few boring turns to get to a cool turn. The pressure luck aspect I find to be very enjoyable. I don't play or won't play anymore usually with the opening nightmare, the werewolf or the wolf, because you have to draw quite a few of his cards to be really afraid of him. Because also, I didn't mention, when a nightmare crosses the fence, then everybody wakes up. So you can't last there forever. And they will all cross that fence at some point. Sometimes the nightmare can move pretty quickly and you have to, oh, we got to hurry up. But many times, especially with the werewolf, I have all the time in the world. The other two, the spider and the Oogie Boogly Man, whatever it is, they are more scary. And the Oogly Boogly Man, I think, is my favorite to play with. I do like that there's 3 different levels, though. And if I was playing with kids, I would use the werewolf because there's less stress involved. So it has pressure luck, it has a neat scoring mechanism, and it has some cool action bouncing around stuff. It's not as intuitive as I would like it to be. I find some usability with the components, and I think the game still looks like a kid's game. Mash all that together, and it's a game that I like. I suspect that I don't love it, but I have an entertaining time each time I play it. I think, again, a lot of people are going to kind of pass this one by, and there's some people I wouldn't play with. If you have a hard time reading small text, this whispery stuff isn't for you. And if you don't like pressure luck games. But the combination I found to be an entertaining and interesting one, and if you think so, you should check it out. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching The Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.